Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I am your host, John Ryan, and I am pleased to have Jimmy Adams Vegas in the house, along with Adam Trigger, two of my favorite handicappers and professional bettors at Sportsmemo.com. I want to tell you a little bit about him first. So, Jimmy Adams, starting with him, he's been handicapping over a decade. He was born in Reno, Nevada, which is a pretty good place to be a sports bettor. And Jimmy actually grew up in the area and was influenced by, I believe, his uncle at the age of 9, watching him put in a winning parlay bet. And as you can imagine, at the age of 9, that impacted him, and his interest in sports betting grew from that point on. He's a graduate of Nevada Reno, basketball stud in high school. And I think that's about it for that. And of course, Adam Trigger, top flight sports founder. He's a graduate of Siena College in 2008, business management and writing, two different degrees. And he got a job out of college. And like so many of us in this industry, we found out right away that sitting behind a desk and being told what we're going to do just didn't quite really work for some of us. And Adam is one of those. So welcome to the show, fellas. I really appreciate you being on the show, number one, and your time. How is everything going this week? How's the month going? How are the streaks? Whatever you want to say. We'll start with Jimmy Adams.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, John. Baseball continues to roll. We've seen a little bit of regression. We're now 31-9 in our last 40 plays. So we're trying to keep things going in June and have a good month like we did in May. NBA has been solid. Right around the 60% range over the last 8 or 10 picks. So we'll be taking the day off from the NBA today, but we have a $9 play up and available over at Sports Memo. It's an underdog, the wrong team's favorite in this one. So head over to Sports Memo and grab that. But we'll be getting to some free plays today as well for you.
And make sure you get these guys' plays, okay? Even if you don't buy mine. Despite the fact that I'm scorching hot right now and just about everything I've been touching, I'm just thankful that is the case. But I would recommend Jimmy Adams and Adam Trigger as two of my favorite guys to go get your betting information and start winning. So, Adam, what's going on in your life this week?
Well, I'll say first, John, I have a similar story to Jimmy, except mine occurred at Saratoga Racetrack as about a 6 or 7-year-old. The first time a horse won, and I was like, okay, this is it. So I got hooked at a young age too, just in what was the legal, way to do it in New York at that time, of course. But everything's going good. I had a little bit of a down week to start June, but way up on the year so far. Made over 100 units last year, and right now, NBA, WNBA, and Korean baseball all nicely ahead. MLB, I got a little work to do, but I had a huge baseball season last year, and it's only June 8th. So we didn't even start baseball until the middle of July last year. So I hope to get a little bit of, bounce back there. And I always say this. I mean, this is kind of a pro tip, buying picks, in my opinion. And I'll say this all the time. I'm bad at selling myself, but I will. I feel good at it. I feel I'm pretty. I believe in this sort of quite a bit. I think if you're buying picks, the way to do it is to find handicapper that's long term good, or that is historically a winner, and hop on after they lose a little bit. So of course, I think right now would be a great time to to jump on, and I've got a $200 special, which will get you everything through the Major League Baseball All-Star break. Now, that's not just baseball plays; that's every single play I release: NBA, WNBA, Korean baseball, and of course baseball. And I hope that this ends up being, my month where I break out in baseball, because it's been a little bit of a grind so far the first 2 months of the season.
Awesome, and I agree. The way the world works, you go to a casino and red comes up 8 times in a row, and all of a sudden red becomes the most popular bet on the planet. And such is the case with us. When we're running hot is when people are really gravitating towards you. And instead, you're right. It should be at the dips. You want to buy the dips.
Buy the dip. That's your term,
Yep.
right, John?
Buy the dip.
There you go.
Except if it's Bitcoin, you don't want to buy the dip right now in Bitcoin.
Jimmy Adams baseball is basically Bitcoin this year.
Yeah,
So
that is for sure, and that's not going to crash anytime soon. In fact,
it won't.
and I'll show you the difference between my promotion, because I struggle promoting myself as well, but I have no problem promoting this. 31-9, last 40 MLB plays, 78% since May 7th, 72% all sports, 6-0 in May in 5-unit plays. That's just, that's proof positive right there, guys, that Jimmy knows what he's talking about. And anybody that comes on my show has to know what they're talking about, or they wouldn't be on the show. So 75% since May 28th in the NBA. And then here's me. See how I promote myself? I can't even say it. But it is similar to Jimmy. We're kind of running neck and neck, I guess.
And you hit that Nets play last night, John. So you're a little bit hotter in the NBA.
Yeah.
With a larger sample size as well. Last couple seasons, John Ryan's killed it in the NBA playoffs. So
I appreciate you saying that, because it just seems to be that horseshoe. It comes around, and I'll admit I'm coming off the worst NBA regular season I've had in the last 7. First losing regular season I've had in the last 7. It is what it is. But then all of a sudden the NBA comes, and I suddenly become a genius and and I'm saying that sarcastically, but it looks like we've all been there. It's like whatever you look at, you're reading the card well, you're looking at the board well, and you just say, well, that play's going to win.
And I'm not sure if you'd agree with this, but I actually like handicapping the NBA playoffs much better than the regular season, because everyone's trying, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Regular season teams take nights off. We're going to rest. We're just going to go, halfway. So it can get pretty tough.
Yeah, I barely played any NBA regular season this year. I mean, when I say that, I probably made about 25 bets in the entire regular season on the NBA, because it's become. Now I released about 25 plays, because the most of the bettable games during the regular season in the NBA is just like getting a piece of information, and you've really got like a minute or two to act on it before, it's usually just a bit of injury news that you have a minute or two to act on before the line moves. Because that's pretty much what regular season NBA has become, is, who's playing tonight. And can I get out ahead of the news of who's playing before the books do? Yeah. That's really what regular season NBA betting has become, unless there's the rare scenario where you just, the stars align and you get a spot at a number that you really like. So
you're right. You'll have these massive market overreactions to one guy being out. Usually it doesn't really impact the game. A lot of times the other side ends up covering anyway. And you'll have these 20-point massive swings. The team will, the Clippers will be up by 20 in the third quarter, and then you're like, okay, that's a winner. You come back from, dinner, and you lost the bet. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Manny's Pub Show, which for those that don't know, it's kind of the culmination of the whole day, and of course Friday's the culmination of the whole week. Airs 4:00 Eastern Standard Time. We always depended on Rob Vino's injury report in the NBA at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and he would tell us who expected to play. And even those those names weren't always right. There was plenty of games where at the tip-off, like Paul George is playing.
Yep.
Definitely. Wait a minute. And it really does make it difficult. So that's when I really started getting into the in-game betting, which I plan out the strategy before the game even starts, and I focus on the totals, and it's just the formulas I use are very similar to the style of trading I used to do as an institutional floor trader on Wall Street. So back in the day where we used to use hand signals, and yell at each other, the same principle applies with those totals in the NBA, and it's because of the price volatility and the fluctuations. One simple strategy I can tell you guys right now is that say tonight you take the Sixers, and this is hypothetical, and Atlanta scores 10 consecutive unanswered points. You want to be seriously looking at the Sixers then as an additional bet. So I highly recommend you do not bet more than your normal bet size, but you take like half your bet and do it pre-flop. And then you have 50% of your regular bet in hand. You do 25% at a level like that. If they rip off another 10, you do it again. And had you done that in game one and you bet the Sixers, you would have come out really, really well, because that game ended up only 4-point deficit. So with that said, we're here to actually talk about baseball. And let's start with Jimmy Adams. I think he's looking at the Giants. And let me get it up here. The Giants.
Giants Rangers.
Rangers.
They got it right here. 8:05 start. We're at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, which is one of my favorite stadiums. We have Alex Wood on the hill for San Francisco, 5-3 record, 3.48 ERA against Jordan Lyles of the Texas Rangers, who's 2-4 with a lofty 5.75 ERA. Looks like San Fran's favored on the road here at minus 135-ish and a total of 8. So tell us, Jimmy, who should we be betting on in this game?
Yeah, so this game was interesting because it opened around minus 145 on the overnight line. It immediately dipped as some people were looking for value. I'm not sure that there is value to be had on a team that's lost 11 of 12. So then the market opens this morning, and the line seems to have ticked up when I last checked approximately an hour ago. I gave it out to my clients at 129 and minus 129 and bet it at the same price. And I'm seeing mid 130s last time I checked. So
I'm actually seeing over 140 now, Jimmy.
Over 140. Okay.
Yeah, minus 140, minus 141 most places now.
So they're coming back with steam on the Giants. Yeah, look, the Giants, I talk all the time about how in baseball we want to bet on teams that are winning and bet against teams that are losing, as opposed to other sports like the NBA or NFL where maybe we want to pick our spots for a bounce back situation. Baseball, not the case. Very rarely do we want to go against a team in the midst of a losing streak. The Rangers are total fade material right now. You cannot back this team. They've lost 11 of 12. They came away with a 1-run win against the Rays over the weekend. That's the only win they have in 12 games. They have Jordan Lyles on the mound, and he's not a guy that worth backing either. He's a 3-4 earned run guy pretty much every outing type thing. Now, so the reason Alex Wood was phenomenal all season long prior to his last 2 starts. He got lit up by the Angels. He got lit up by the Dodgers. So we're going to need him to settle down a bit and bounce back. But prior to those 2 starts, 2 runs, 1 run, 1 run, 2 runs, 2 runs, 1 run, 0 runs. So this is a guy that's very capable of going out there. He's been a workhorse for the Giants. He's been a huge reason for their success all season long. So we can have faith that the Giants, as a team playing better and with the better pitcher on the mound, can cash laying the chalk here today.
Oh, I love the breakdown, Jimmy. Every time I listen to you guys do a breakdown, I want to run to the window now and bet it, and I'm not kidding. But I agree with you. I think San Fran is the right side here, and how can you trust a team that has won 1 game in the last 12? You said,
yeah,
that's horrible. That's you don't put good money on a bad team.
No, and you're not even getting a good dog price backing them. So
yep. So another team, we'll move over to Adam Trigger here, and I know this team, as we discussed on Manny's playbook yesterday, is big time struggling offensively. And my question to my guys yesterday was like, what is wrong with the Yankees? The Yankees are 2 games over 500. They got swept for the first time since 2011 by the Red Sox at home. I mean, how bad can that be? I mean, that's about it. I mean, you've got to be hitting bottom here. But the market hasn't really reacted yet to adjust for the fact that maybe the Yankees are just a 500 team. But I think what we're going to hear is that, growing in the next couple of days, maybe next week over time, that a lot of the smart guys are going to start saying that there's value in playing the Yankees. And I'm wondering if Adam thinks that this might be one of those situations. What do you think?
So, yeah, John, I haven't made a bet in this game yet, but the only way I would play it is the Yankees, and I am definitely going to be one of those people looking to bet on the Yankees going forward. And I'll give you some reasons why. Okay. this team, I still go back. I don't think the books get things that, I mean, they're obviously going to miss on stuff, but this team was minus 250 to win the AL East prior to this season starting. And for as bad as, like, we've been sitting here talking about how bad the Yankees are, they're still 31 and 29. So, like, I mean, all things considered, I mean, for a team that's really played bad baseball, I mean, we broke it down on the Manny's Pub yesterday. Rob Vino cited the fact that they are one of the worst defensive teams in the league right now. I brought up the base runs stats. It's a sabermetric stat that measures the number of runs a team should have scored. And when I think the definition of should have scored is basically, I don't know the exact formula to get that, but it has to be something like runners in scoring position, maybe runners on second or third, runners on with less than 2 outs, but they are minus 13, which is so far and away worse than the rest of the league that I think that's such an outlier stat. And it tells me that the Yankees are going to eventually start cashing in with some of these guys that they're getting on base. You look at their last 10 games, they're 2-8. Okay, they're 2-8 over their last 10 games. And I just think if you were ever going to buy low on the Yankees, it would have to be right now. And if there was a team I'm kind of comfortable buying low on, I feel like we've seen this before out of the Yankees, where they kind of sleepwalk through the first 2 months of the season, and then all of a sudden they'll have a huge month. And I don't think that past results don't always dictate what's going to happen in the future. But you look at this roster. I mean, there's talent on this team, and they've managed to play better than 500 ball, which in Major League Baseball, it's hard to. I mean, look at the teams across the league. Like, it's hard to be an above 500 team in the major leagues. It just is. So, this team has played about as bad as you can play. They're hitting like 228 as a team, and yet they're still 2 games over 500. So if they're still 2 games over 500 at their really playing as bad as they possibly could, I have to think that going forward, things are going to start to fall, and I mean, literally and figuratively, right? Like some of these hits with guys on are going to find grass, and it's, instead of being an out, it's going to be a 2-run base hit. And I just think when some of that gets going, you're going to see, I mean, this is a team that the Yankees have a culture of winning. It'd be a little bit different if this was, let's say, the Pirates, okay, that fell into this scenario where there's just, or any, I don't mean to pick on the Pirates specifically, but any team where, they're used to being like a 500 team, and there's not like a culture of winning. For the Yankees, they expect to win. And, 31 and 29 in New York, I can tell you, living in the state, the New York media and New York fans do not accept what's going on right now. So I just think that I think if there was going to be a team that just kind of gets hot, will be looking to get involved somehow with the Yankees in this series with Minnesota, because the Twins are a team they've owned for years, especially in the playoffs. Just go look at the Yankees playoff record against the Twins. It's out of control. And it just, this sort of feels like the spot where, they just had like the rock bottom result over the weekend with the Red Sox. They really didn't play well at all in that series. And so right now it seems like if you were going to buy low on what I consider to be I still consider the Yankees to be a good team, this has to be the spot. This has to be the time to buy the Yankees. And I'm not sure if I'll get to the window with them tonight, but I do think they start scoring soon. So I'm considering Yankees. I'm considering the over, and I'm not a huge over better, but I will be making a point to try to find a way to be on the Yankees probably, going forward from this point on.
And you've got Michael Pineda coming off a performance in which he gave up 5 earned runs. You got the Twins offense that is horrific. My clients know that I love to fade the Twins. They've been at the bottom of the league in ROI all season long. So
they didn't hit over the weekend against Kansas City either, really. I don't think. I'm going off memory.
No, and you're getting a really good price on New York as well. So all good points, Adam.
Where is the price right now? I'm actually seeing minus 111.
Yeah, minus in the, depending on what book you're at, it's going to be. I would imagine there's still even some minus 105s out there if you're at like a book that offers better splits. But yeah, I see minus 110. Minus 110 seems to be anywhere between minus 105 and minus 110 seems to be the norm right now. I'm seeing some minus 108s. And like I said, it's I haven't locked anything in yet for today, but the Yankees are very high on my list of, what I'm considering here. And I do, if it doesn't happen tonight, let's put it this way, if it doesn't happen tonight, it's going to happen at some point. Like, this team is going to get hot because that minus 13 base runs number it's such an outlier. I mean, let me pull it up quick because I think it's important.
Oh, there's no doubt.
If you look at the rest of the league in this category, so this is going to be, let me just make sure I have the full, I'm not filtering it all here. Okay. So this is the entire league in the sabermetric statistic called base runs. And like I said, you could look up, like, there's probably a better textbook definition of what they're measuring, but the high level view is it's basically measuring runs a team should have scored. The league leader in this category, bear with me for 1 second. The league leader in this category is actually the Colorado Rockies. And it kind of makes sense. What that tells me is, it's funny because their hitting numbers are okay, but they must take advantage of their opportunities, right? Like, they get a guy on, even though they don't get as many guys on as some of these other teams, they must cash it in. That on the other end, that's probably an outlier stat too. With the Rockies being a 10, that'll probably come back. The next teams in order make more sense with the Padres being up there. They're a pretty good offensive team. But if you look at the bottom, the Mets are minus 8.9. And the funny thing is the Mets hitting woes with, like, runners in scoring position, that's been, like, pretty well documented this year. I feel like it's been well documented that the Mets, strand runners and are very wasteful, if you will, with guys on base. Yes.
With all the injuries they've had in that lineup, they've been almost unbackable just because they may have a great pitcher on the mound. They have the best pitcher on the planet, but you don't know if they're going to score any runs.
Yeah,
it
definitely.
makes it tough.
But then you have the Yankees. So think about this. Then you have the Yankees minus 13. So that's, in this metric, that's 4 points lower than the second worst team. Like, that to me is just such a massive outlier that I don't see any way that goes any lower than that. It almost seems like it just seems like they're so far at the, like, that almost doesn't seem like a realistic number. Actually, let's for the heck of it just pull up 2020 and see what the worst BSR was in 2020. Because we're actually starting to talk similar sample right now. How many games are we into the Major League season? Probably
60.
60? Yeah, okay. So let's look at 2020 and see what the worst BSR was in 2020. I have not looked at this yet. I bet it wasn't minus 13. That's just my guess.
I would be surprised. And by the way, the Mets are last in run scores, but they have a positive run differential. Thanks to Jacob.
It's funny. This is interesting. So in 2020, the Milwaukee Brewers BSR was minus 17.6. And here's the Mets again with minus 11, but no other team finished with a double-digit BSR. Not one other team. So it tells me that, and again, we're talking 60-game samples here, and I know we got to move on. I'm going to look at 2019 because I want to look at 162 games because I think the 60-game sample is playing into the fact that they're such an outlier. So if I go and look at this category in 2019, and this is all, make sure I've got it. Yeah, so 2019, it was, so the teams that were way down at the bottom were like some of the worst teams in the league that year. The Marlins, that was a year the Marlins were like almost probably at 100 loss team. I want to say the 2019 Marlins were just god awful because it was, Yeah, they had to be. The Mets were bad that year, and the Reds. These are all teams that had to be like way out, like miss the playoffs. I'm trying to think back 2 years, but the point here is, I don't think the Yankees profile as a team. I mean, those teams we're talking about with those negative BSR numbers all missed the playoffs by a mile that year. Reds, Mets, and Marlins from 2019. I'm pretty sure none of them were anywhere near the playoffs. So
Sounds like the Yankees better get a new manager.
yeah, so to me it's a smaller sample, and I really think the Yankees are going to start to cash in on some of these opportunities and just hit in general. I mean, they're hitting 228 as a team. I There's no way that lineup should be hitting 228 as a team. So, in my opinion, like they can only go up, in my opinion, right now. 2-8 in their last 10. I feel like a new city, new change of scenery, not playing the Red Sox, team that they've done extremely well against. They've owned the Twins over the years. I mean, there's going to be a good spot to back them in this series.
It does look cheap.
I may end up. I'm like talking myself into it right now, but like I'll be looking at them tonight. But I'm looking for a spot in this series with the Twins, probably just to jump on the Yankees. I don't know if it'll be tonight or not. I'll let you know on the Manny's show though.
Yeah,
so tune in to Manny's Pub. I'll probably know for sure by then.
I was a bit myself yesterday. We were talking about this, and I talk about a new manager, and I think Tony Finn was talking about a new manager, and I said, well, that's easy. You go to Bull Durham, the movie, you hire that guy, and there's three fundamental things that the Yankees are not doing. They make a ton of errors. They lead the league in double plays by a mile. So, you throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. Do you guys remember that scene? I love that scene. Bull Durham.
It's a great movie.
Oh, it's tremendous. That. Kevin Costner. But anyway, real fast, it wouldn't be a show if I didn't talk about the Sixers. So I'm just going to do this. I promise you it'll be 30 seconds. And this is our betting angle of the day. This will be seen on the Wager Talk NBA show later today. But you guys get to see it right now. So in this situation here, we have betting on home favorites in the playoffs. The home favorite lost at home as a favorite in their last game. Those teams are 32-24 or 57% last 10 seasons. Not a big deal, right? However, if that opponent, in this case Atlanta, is coming off back-to-back road wins as an underdog, looky what you get. 9-0-1. Bet the Sixers to bounce back, and that's it. We're not going to talk about Ben Simmons. We're not going to talk about Embiid. We're just going to talk about this angle of the day. And then later today at 4 o'clock, I'm sure I will be instigated to participate in a discussion about this game. I feel like I'm a defender of the 76ers, especially with the, I run these sentiment apps using some machine learning and Python code. I'm actually a certified Twitter developer, so I can go in the back and get a lot of meaningful analytics. So I go through well over 1,000 tweets using the team's hashtags. And at one point in the Wizards series with the Sixers, there had not been a worse negative sentiment than after Ben Simmons couldn't make free throws. And I said it on the show, I said it on Twitter, that this is the time to bet Ben Simmons for a triple-double. And he did, Game 5. So it's a contrarian thing. Your favorite team that you like in your hometown, your city, and the media is bashing it, and the coach should just resign. Think positive. Think positive about it. If you like betting, that's the time to do it. Everybody will think you're out of your mind, but when they do think you're out of your mind, you got to feel good about it. And I kid you not, those are the times that you get the best bang for the buck, so to speak. So I don't know if tonight will be another one, but I can tell you this. The price for Ben Simmons at a triple-double is the lowest of his career, plus 450. Wow. And again, with the negative sentiment running around Philly that, he can't do this, he can't do that, and we all know it's not the case. That might be an interesting bet, but we'll talk about that later today at 4 o'clock on Manny's Pub. So last but not least, if you guys have any plugs and promotions you want to express to our viewers, this is the time to do it. We'll start with Jimmy Adams, and then we'll go to Adam Trigger, and that'll be it for the show. So the mic is yours, Jimmy.
Yeah, okay. So if you're wondering, I don't have any NBA action today for a variety of reasons. So there will be 2 MLB plays. You got the free play on the Giants. There's also an underdog that I love today. This team should not be an underdog. They should absolutely be favored. So we have a wrong team favorite alert. The play's available at Sportsmemo for just $9. We're 31-9 in our last 40. We're 6-0 in our last 6 5-unit plays. So head over to Sportsmemo, get it for real cheap, and let's cash on this nice underdog tonight.
That sounds great, Jimmy. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, so as I touched on earlier, I have a special up at Sportsmemo. It's $200 for every player released from now through the MLB All-Star break. So it's a little bit more than a month, and it gets you a discount on the monthly rate. So I think that's a great deal. I haven't posted a play yet for today. I definitely will. I'm still trying to sort of pare down exactly what I want to do. I will, however, give you my thought. So I talked about the Yankees. Definitely something I'm considering. That's more of something I'm considering in general. I'll have to see if it plays today. I want to dig into it a little bit more. But that was really more of a general thought. One, if you want like a play that I'm pretty confident I will be releasing at some point, and definitely something I would play. I'm going to probably come right back with the under in the Royals and the Angels. So I lost one last night. I had the under in this game, and kid making his major league debut for the Royals got blown up in the first inning, and it really kind of ruined that bet. But when I went back and sort of reviewed the game, 6 of those runs came in the first inning and a half. And the rest of the way sort of played out as I expected it to, where, both bullpens pitched pretty well. I mean, if you take out Irvin Santana came in and did a considerably good job in relief, which was probably unexpected. I doubt that he expected to be in the first inning of that game and go and end up throwing 80 pitches or whatever he threw. But I talked yesterday about I think the Royals bullpen, if you like to be ahead of the curve on stuff, I think that's really like what betting is all about, is trying to be ahead of the curve or ahead of you always want to be proactive, not reactive. And I think the Royals bullpen by next year, like this bullpen is going to be one of the best in the league as they mature and go forward, because you've got 3 guys down there that are all within their first or second year, pretty new to the bigs, Stallman, and then I think Barlow, and the other name is escaping me, but like these guys are going to be studs. And, if Greg Holland and Wade Davis, I think they both worked clean innings. I know Holland worked a clean outing last night. I mean, if some of these veterans can get back to even close to what they were, I think they could be really good this year. And the Royals bullpen metrics are actually, they're like fringing, they're like bordering on like top 10 right now in the league as it is. So I like this Royals bullpen. And today the Royals have a starter that is at least, I can pretty much guarantee is going to give us a better effort than yesterday's starter. So it's Chris Bubic is on the mound for the Royals tonight. He's actually had a really nice season so far. ERA is 2.12 entering play tonight, 1.26 whip. The numbers are pretty good for him. So I think Bubic is a good option from a starting pitching standpoint. And, Andrew Heaney, this guy's cost me money over the years, but I'm still an Andrew Heaney guy. Like, this is another thing I probably need to check myself a little bit in baseball. Like, I like trying to find these guys as prospects, but then if I really like a guy when he's like coming up, I'll get married to them a little bit, where it's just like I can't let it go. And Andrew Heaney's one of those guys where for years I think this guy should be I've expected him, like I would have expected Andrew Heaney by now to be like one of the best lefties in baseball, and it just hasn't been the case. However, his WHIP is 1.24. The ERA is coming down. He was really good against the Giants last time out. He pitched into the seventh, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. He got the win, and it was definitely one of his best outings in a while. So I talked about this yesterday too. The Royals are not hitting right now, and they didn't hit Dylan Bundy yesterday. That was one thing that we kind of got right. I mean, they barely did anything off of Bundy. So the Royals right now to me are playing like an under team. They had this really hot stretch last week, and it seems like they've cooled off. So I think they're going to struggle with Heaney. I think Bubik can deliver a pretty good start, and the Angels bullpen has actually been very good over the last week. They had one bad game against the Mariners, but if you look at what this team's bullpen, you look at what the Angels bullpen has done the last week, they have been kind of like one of the hotter bullpens in the league. And they started off so poorly that their numbers don't really reflect. Like, I still don't think their numbers reflect what they actually will finish at the end of the year. John, I like the Angels coming into the season. I bet them to win the West. I doubt that's going to happen, but I do think we could get a little bit of positive regression from them. So I think Heaney and Bubik are going to be better than the start. I think collectively they'll be better than the starters from last night. And I really like this Royals bullpen, and I just don't think the Royals are hitting right now. So I'm willing to trust the Angels to keep the Royals off the scoreboard, and I think I'll probably come back with the under here.
That sounds great, man. Good breakdown. And these two guys are going to be on Manny's Pub later today at 4 o'clock, and I'm sure we can dive deeper into some of these games. And, of course, Tony Finn and Rob Vino, my two sidekicks, with Tony Finn, one of the funniest guys I've ever known in my entire life.
So I'm going to have to tell him he was right in person, then, is what you're saying.
If you want. I mean, I'm sure within the first half hour you will be reminded, possibly, but we don't know. But we can stage that accordingly. But I want to thank you guys for being on the show. Really good stuff, great information here. We definitely have a pick from Jimmy on the Giants. We have kind of a lean between me and Adam and Jimmy on the Yankees, I think.
I'll be firm on something by 4 p.m. Eastern. So
yep. Gotta
tune in to Manny's Pub. You should be watching it anyway. So there you go.
And I think you all know who I'm on tonight in the NBA. That team in South Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center, just maybe. But I also have a 4%er going in the other game tonight, which I actually like even better than this one. So that is proof positive there too. So for Adam Trigger, Jimmy Adams, Vegas, myself, Sportsmemo.com, WagerTalk.com, and the Predictive Playbook, may all the wins be yours.